Good afternoon to everyone. I'm Rabbi Jason Navarez, and welcome to Beth Israel, a place where I know has such incredible sentimental and substantive value and memories for Mitchell and for his family. And so to come at this time where many of us are here feeling a sense of loss, a sense of pain, a question of not understanding why good people are taken from this earth too soon. I can stand up here and share all the things that I think about God and our theology, but it doesn't take away the pain. It doesn't take away the love or the memories or the embrace or the beautiful ways that we will come to memorialize Mitch and all that he has and continues to be in everyone's life and that of memory. To his family that are with us, large, extended, beautiful family that continued the pack mentality and tradition of what it means to be family. Today we'll honor and hear words, beautiful words, that envelop a quiet sense of self, yet a way in which he felt the grandeur of giving and doting and being in the world could be his stamp on how to make this world more kind and more whole. And so we thank you all for joining us, whether you're here physically with us, you're joining us online in our online community today. Your presence is greatly felt by the family, and today we will honor our collective presence in his loving memory and blessing in all that Mitch has and continues to stand in the way of memory. And so we'll begin with Psalm 121. The words are, Esayinai el harim ma'ayin va'azrim. I lift my eyes to the mountains, from where does my help come from? And if you see the words are in your pamphlets that you received, if you haven't received one, they're outside in the vestibule, on the desk, on the chair, on the table, outside. We're here in Psalm 121, and we always invite everyone to participate as much as you are possibly able to. The words say, where's the source of my help? And my help comes from God. That's a hard thing for me to even hold right now in Psalm 121 when a loved one is lost, and yet we're supposed to find a source and a higher power. And I certainly have a deep feel of higher power, but the way I see God manifest in the world is through the phone calls and the emails and the texts, in the embrace and in the love and in the way we come and surround each other in these moments and the moments that are in between. And so I know that Mitchell modeled that. And so when we chant these words of Esayinai, it's with that understanding that from where does my help come from? It comes from this. It comes from the greater collective, from family, from friends, from loved ones. And we'll join together. Esayinai el harim me'ayin yavo ezrim Esayinai el harim me'ayin yavo ezri mein Adonai ose shemayim ve'aretz Ezri mein Adonai ose shamayim ve'aretz. Let's join together in the English, the translation of Psalm 121. I lift my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. See the garden of Israel, neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian. God is your protection at your right hand. By day the sun will not strike you, nor the moon by night. Adonai will guard you from all harm. God will guard your soul, your going and coming, now and forever. Mourning is the price we pay for having the courage to love others. Even in grief, we know that the wonder of human life is too complex and too magnificent to be memorialized in endless pain. The gifts of spirit our loved one gave us cannot be measured or weighed, nor can they be lost or even tarnished by time. Even in our darkest hours, we know that some of their light and their warmth will always be with us, bringing comfort and courage, and in the fullness of time, healing and peace. And we remember Mitchell in this hour and join our hearts together to give comfort and strength to his family. And we know that mourning is filled with so many emotions and memories that are both bitter and sweet. So we begin our service today with the recitation of psalms and prayers that have us link Mitchell's life with the millennia-old tradition of the people of Israel and the eternity of God. And I invite you to turn to Psalm 23. As I read in Hebrew, and I invite you as we translate it after to join with those words. Mizmor David, Adonai Ho'i lo aksar, binu deshir batzeni, al memerchot yinachaleni, yavshir shovev yancheni gval metzedek l'ma'an shemo, gam ki elech begei tzal mavet lo ira ra, ki ata amadi, שיפתחה משעתך חמה ינחמוני, תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צורי ודשנת ושמן ראשי, כוסי רוויה. אך טוב וחסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני לירח ימים. We join together a song of David. Eternal God, you are my shepherd, I shall not want. You make me lie down in green pastures. You lead me beside still waters. You restore my soul. You guide me in paths of righteousness for the sake of your name. Even when I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. With rod and staff you comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of God forever. So many words that we hear from our scripture, from words of comfort, but I believe there are no stronger words that measure the character and quality of the human heart than those that surround us in our daily lives. And so we are blessed to hear this afternoon from Ed, from Kelly, Kevin, and Joe, a close friend, to share their own images and memories of Mitchell. And so I'd like to call upon Ed to begin and share some words with us.
The saga of Mitchell Berner and how he joined our family is something that we do tell multiple times to remember the joy of that day. After 2 miscarriages, Mitch's mother Joyce and I wanted to adopt an infant boy. With the aid of Children's Home Society, and after 2 or 3 months of interviews, we got that beautiful phone call. We have a small male infant, 2 weeks old, eligible for adoption. Joyce and I, along with our 2 girls, Jessica and Darren, who immediately put on their best dresses, and excitedly we all went to the nursery. Immediately, Jessica and Darren embraced this pink cheek beautiful baby boy, and picked him up. The social worker said, if he isn't the one, we can look for another boy. No, no, they cried. This beautiful boy is the one we want. The next day, after a sleepless night, we brought our beautiful Mitchell home. His two sisters took turns carrying him around. I never quite figured out how he learned to walk. He didn't have that opportunity too much. But at 9 months, he started walking. We lovingly called him Bam Bam as he navigated our home, bumping into everything with his developing legs and infectious laugh. Shortly, he added multiple hats. He loved hats, and he made us laugh even more. And that was the beginning of a very large hat collection for him. When Mitchell was 2 years old, his energetic, loving younger brother, Kevin, also chosen, joined us in a similar way. Like most of my children, they attended schools within walking distance of our home in the college area. For high school, he enrolled in La Jolla Country Day, playing baseball and lacrosse. During that time, I introduced him to the sport of racquetball. We played often, and with my experience, I won most of the time. In fact, all the time at the beginning. In his senior year, at the end of the summer, he called me and challenged me to a game. He proceeded to beat me by a large margin. And as we walked up the court, embracing, both smiling, we both felt it was like a rite of passage for both of us when a son beat his father in a sport. After graduation from La Jolla Country Day, he applied to the University of Texas, completed his undergraduate degree, met his love, Kelly, and they moved to Los Angeles, where he obtained his master's degree from SC. And his wife, Kelly, will tell you more of the college story and career better than I can. Approximately 23 years ago, we planned our first family vacation, and 10 of us vacationed in Hawaii. Our last family vacation was in Coronado with 23 of family together and still growing for next year. We are truly blessed. Mitchell has played such an important part in these family vacations. In the last 10 years, he has been our go-to person, planning with great detail all aspects of our vacation, a detailed printed itinerary, arranging meals, special events, bus transportation, making it very easy for all of us. He did this with sensitivity, desire to help all of us, and always showed us his loving, thoughtful approach to family, extended family, as well as to Kelly and Mitchell's many friends. His courage and inner strength fighting his cancer was beyond belief. He will continue to live in our hearts and minds with great joy. I will see him smiling and helping me next summer, looking over my shoulder as we plan another big family event. I just want to add one other thing, which was unfortunately left out in the obituary. Kelly and the family, in the obituary, it mentioned that for those who want to make a donation in his honor, MD Anderson Cancer Center was listed, and we left out Congregation Beth Israel. I thank you. God bless.
I'd like to call upon Kelly.
Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for being here today. Thank you, Ed, for the great kickoff of the memorial for Mitch today. Some of the things you said were so touching. I love the story about the adoption. I mean, because the sisters, of course, really looked at Mitch as their own little gift but he was a gift to all of us in so many ways. And so that giving nature kind of flows through everything about his person and how he lived his life and how grateful he was for that beginning. But I'm going to start at my beginning, so where I met Mitch. So Ed did talk about that a little bit. I did meet Mitch at the University of Texas. We actually have been together for 40 years. So 40 years in December was our anniversary of our first date. As Edgar said, so we met there, and it's probably thanks to you, Ed, that you put him in my path to meet him. Because a lot of people wondered, why in the world would somebody from great San Diego choose to go to Texas with no ties, previous ties to Texas? Well, the criteria, so I'll tell you that story. So that Ed really wanted Mitch to go to a top 10 business school. Well, and as Ed also alluded, he sparked an interest in sports with Mitch that went across a lot of different sports. I was amazed when I was looking at the pictures, how many sporting pictures there were. But just before he went off to college, he became very involved in lacrosse. And so he wanted to find a school that had an intramural lacrosse program, which is somewhat unusual. So back in the old days, before the computers, he went and looked in the Princeton Review book and found the top 10 business schools and schools that also had lacrosse. And for my luck, the University of Texas had both. And that was how he ended up going to the University of Texas. So thank you, Ed. So in 1982, the Texas girls thought Mitch was this exotic bad boy from California, and this, just like the kind that this very straight-laced girl from the South would normally avoid. But luckily, I threw caution to the wind and accepted a date with him, and the rest is kind of history. But what I quickly discovered was that the somewhat wild fraternity boy from Southern California was an over-the-top romantic. He loved grand gestures and surprises. And he used lots of those in the wooing process. The first of these occurred after our first date. While on that date, my purse was stolen, and it's a long story, so I'm going to skip it. Maybe later I'll tell you. But despite that, I thought it was a really great first date. But he didn't call. I couldn't figure out why didn't he call for several days. Well, so what I found out later was that, well, he needed to consult with his mother. So he called his mom and said, hey, I need to buy her a purse. And so he went out, bought the perfect purse, but it took several days, then came to where I lived at the time and presented me the purse. Well, then it was so nice, I had to call my mom and say, can I keep this purse? And I still have that purse. I even thought about bringing it today, but I did not unwrap it and bring it today. And that began our grand adventure of fun and partnership and laughs. So from then on, Mitch was my person and I was his. So Texas made a big impact on Mitch. So not only did he have a fiance in tow when he moved back to California, his family joked that Mitch left a California beach bum and came back a blue blazer, red tie, white wall Republican. So it was a bit of a shock. But during his undergraduate studies, Mitch realized that his true passion was public service, and as opposed to business. Sorry, Ed. Even before he moved back to California, he focused his studies on public administration and started building his career in California politics with a goal to serve. Mitch went to work for a congressman, a assemblyman, a county supervisor, a mayor, and a city councilwoman. In these roles, he worked on campaigns, fundraisers, as a staff person, and finally as the chief of staff. He loved being in the room where it happened, reference from Hamilton, one of our favorite plays, and helping the public. Later, he built a business as a consultant to politicians, lobbyists, small businesses, and big corporations. Throughout his career, Mitch's favorite projects were the ones that you could see, the ones that brought value to neighborhoods and its residents, the ones that impacted the lives of San Diegans in a positive way. One project that comes to mind was the way that he helped City Councilwoman Barbara Warden. She helped to pass legislation that secured funding for a much-needed beautification project in Linda Vista, a neighborhood close to his early childhood home. Those were the projects he loved. He also loved working for a number of synagogues, churches, day schools. It was quite diverse, but the main thing that he loved was that he was helping people in his community. Okay, but enough about me and Mitch. Now let's talk about you. As I look out, I see people from all parts of Mitch's life, family, friends, colleagues. However you knew Mitch, it's wonderful to see all your faces today. Some I haven't seen in a long time, so thank you for coming here. So some of you are part of Mitch's big, loving, sometimes crazy family. To you I say, Mitch considered his family to be the biggest gift a person could ever receive. Even if you did forget him at his bar mitzvah, left him at the temple. He was amazed at his luck that he was handpicked to be a member. From you, he learned how to love deeply and celebrate all of the important milestones. So some of you are dear, dear friends. Some grew up with Mitch, roaming, some might say marauding, the neighborhood on your bikes, playing hockey or Little League, and thinking up shenanigans while you ditched Hebrew school. Oh yeah, I know the stories, I've been told. You're like his second family. You're familiar and comfortable, and no matter how old we get, you give him a history and grounding. Other friends have come into his life as adults. You give him that uncomplicated love and broaden our lives with new experiences and interests. I would have to say that some of those were, of course, travel, and I look out and I see people that we've traveled with where we've had these grand adventures, and so that is very special too. And then finally, some of you were colleagues of Mitch. And we worked together to make San Diego a better place. To you I say, thank you for helping Mitch make his mark on our community in a way that made his life meaningful. He felt that this was his legacy, so thank you. It is because of you that Mitch became the man who he was, the man who will sit by a brother-in-law's bedside for hours on end to provide comfort and give Jessica and family members a break. One who will make pre-prepared meals for my dad when he was sick, well, I should have said for the Colonel, when he was sick, and send them to Texas to save my dad from my terrible cooking. The one who on 9/11 sprang to the rescue to gather up Ed, Julie, Darren, and Tracy when they were stranded in Las Vegas. As my boss said when I asked him for time off to be part of the rescue, when the going gets tough, the Berners go to Las Vegas. He was also one who would secretly pay the fee to maintain the domain name of his brother's business so that he would never have to worry about that detail. And he's also a man whose favorite holiday is Thanksgiving, because that is a day he could return a fraction of the love and joy given to him by his family by preparing a special meal. So Mitch is all of those things that I just said, but I'm guessing at this point some of you are saying, wait, is this the same Mitch Berner that I know? The guy who would sit and read a newspaper while there was a party going on a few feet away? Well, yes, that is in fact him. The reality is, and I say this with love, is that Mitch wasn't always the easiest person to understand. We teased him about being like a cat. A cat spends most of its time seeming aloof, so you're never quite sure if he likes you or not. Right? But when that cat loves you, there's nothing better. Mitch was like that. Once he decided to love you, that love was enduring. In truth, it wasn't always easy to make his list, but once you did, you never came off. Mitch garnered joy and drew his energy by gifts and service, by solving problems, by creating something magical and memorable, by planning every little detail. Over the top, grand. That was Mitch. It was the gift of my lifetime for Mitch to choose me, to love me, to create this life we had together. He was a man of grand gestures, and thanks to him, our life was truly grand. So on behalf of the family, we thank you for the outpouring of love and support and for coming to celebrate Mitch today. People always ask me, what can they do to help me? And I always have a hard time thinking of something. And one of my dearest friends said to me yesterday that here's a recommendation, that do something kind. Do a kindness to somebody else, something little. And do it in the next few days, and think of Mitch when you do it. That would be the perfect way to remember him. So again, thank you. So Kevin, you're the next.
I want to thank all of you for coming again to share my brother's life. I'm going to miss him very much. When Kelly asked me, she called me and asked me if I would speak today. And I was like, oh my gosh. I'm sitting in my garage and I'm thinking, and then I had reached out to David Geist the day Mitchell died. And he called me back after I had talked to Kelly, and we talked for almost an hour about when we were kids and all the really fun things we did, going to the beach, going to Belmont Park, going to San Diego State and riding our bicycles, and going to the arcade games. And I talked to my cousin Craig also for quite a while, because he was very close with Mitchell when we were kids. And I started thinking, because Mitchell and I didn't know each other all that well, because I left when I was 12 years old. And so I was like, okay, what am I going to speak about? Well, after talking with Craig and David, all sorts of things started rushing back in, memories of mostly when I was a child. And everybody knows Mitchell used to like to beat me up a lot. So, and who can blame him, okay? So I had a couple instances I wanted to share with you about Mitchell. I remember this one time, I was always trying to tag along with Mitchell and David, or Mitchell and Craig, but who wants their little brother hanging out with them? Okay, I get it. Well, this one time, I was going up College Gardens Court, and it was David and Mitch, and I was trying to follow, and I think Mitchell turned around and threw a couple rocks at me. He didn't get me. And he's like, go home. And I was like, I'm not. So he chased me down, and he was getting ready to thrash me. And David came up. And David was always bigger than Mitchell. And he told Mitchell, he's like, okay, you can't beat him up, okay? And Mitchell's like, okay. And David looked at Mitchell again, and he said, but he's still not coming with us. There was another time when we were in elementary school. I remember we were walking home, and right on Montezuma, right before you take the cut up to go to our houses, and I was walking, and some kid came up behind me, ran by and hit me in the back of the head with their lunchbox and sent me ass over tea kettle. Well, as I'm getting up, I see Mitchell. He hauls ass past me, and I get up into the circle, and at that time, he pretty much beating this kid's ass at the time. And so after it was all done, we were walking down, and Mitch came up and he put his arm around with me, and he looked down and he's like, are you okay? And I said, I must have probably rubbed my head, and I go, yeah, I'm okay. And he kept his arm around me, which is not like Mitchell. And I looked up at him, and he looked back down at me, and he's like, I'm the only one who gets to kick your ass. You know, we had great times when we were kids. Our family's wonderful, and so many faces that I see that I haven't seen in so long. And I know Mitch would, even though it's a sad occasion, he would be happy that we're together and seeing each other again, because we should connect. Well, we had the best times, and me and Mitch were very lucky. But in parting, I wanted to say, that Mitchell and I were both adopted. Well, on behalf of my brother and myself, to my father, to my mother, and to my sisters, thank you for choosing us.
I'd like to call upon Joe.
Good afternoon. First, I want to offer our sincere condolences to Kelly, Ed, and the entire Berner family. Our family is all here today, and it's truly an honor for us to be here and a distinct honor for me to be asked to come up here. I need to mention something to you, though, right up front. If you hear me refer to Kelly as Berner Kelly, it's not a verbal typo, okay? We have in our family, my wife's sister, her name is Kelly as well. And we have known the Berners for an awful long time. I'll get to that in just a second. But when our children were very young, our toddler son, who is now sitting out there and about to be 30 years old, said, there's an Aunt Kelly and there's a Berner Kelly. Nothing warmed our hearts better than to get a call from Mitchell when he was in our neighborhood and say, hey Joe, Berner Kelly and I are in the neighborhood. We're going to stop by and say hi. Great. She is always Berner Kelly. So when I refer to Berner Kelly, you don't need to scratch your head. Mitch was not only our friend, but our computer tech, our travel agent. You've heard that from Ed, and I'll get to that in just a second. Cruise director, political advisor, you've heard that as well, and our Zen master, and I think you all can appreciate that. Even more importantly, we considered ourselves part of the Berner family. In fact, we often referred to Berner Kelly and Mitch as the family we choose. With over a 30-year-old friendship full of laughs, celebration, cruises, dinners, casual get-togethers, it's hard to try to encapsulate the life of Mitch and what he meant to us in just a few minutes. But I'm going to try. First, Mitchell's intelligence. He's one of the smartest people I've ever met. Not only that, he had an endless breadth of interest in sports, politics, business, theater, music, religion, anything. In fact, I want to let you in on a little secret. For many years, Mitch helped us figure out our ballots and explain those confusing propositions and candidates. You know what I mean? You know that, remember you used to get one of those in the mail? We would always, in the olden days, we would deliver it to Mitch through Kelly or directly to him, and he would mark it up. But then in the computer age, he did it all online. I will tell you that some of the editorial comments that he made on those ballots are instant classics, and we still remember them, especially his write-in candidates. Mitch could chat to anybody about anything, on any age, on any topic. In fact, our boys who are sitting there, Joey and Jack, who are 29 and 26, call Mitch the man, because Mitch is the man. He's the man. They were always so impressed by how much Mitch knew about everything. He would sit down and chat with them one-on-one, his true strength, one-on-one. Everybody in this room can appreciate Mitch's one-on-one way of connecting with people. He would chat with them about maybe offering guidance, maybe some technical advice, or just complain about the Chargers. Second thing I'd like to touch on was his sense of kindness and generosity, and you've heard that from the three previous people that are up here. But behind that was sometimes an aloof, introverted, quirky. His personality was a little bit quirky, but when all is said and done, he loved his family, his friends, and cats. The people Mitch loved were always top of mind for him, and he was always finding ways to connect to help. He would support them and, as Ed said, plan awesome trips. I overheard one of Kelly's sisters, we've spent some time with her over the past few days, refer to Mitch as a travel savant. And I think there were a lot of people here that could probably relate to that. He would plan these trips with flawless execution, incredible attention to detail, and whoever was going on this trip would have the best time. A show of hands. I heard Ed talk about an itinerary that he would always provide. Show of hands. How many had an itinerary that was laminated? There you go. Laminated itinerary. Front, back, color, perfection. He was most definitely our social chair. We will miss that. We knew with Mitch and Berner Kelly that if we needed anything, anytime, anywhere, they show up. Mitch would do it without frills. No frills for Mitch. He didn't need the attention. It wasn't performative for him. It was in his heart. That's what he did. Last thing, and the best thing that I'll miss about Mitch, is that keen sense of humor. He had a bit of a dry wit, a bit, a knack for pranks, I'm speaking personally here, and those one-line zingers, unbelievable. He usually left us in hysterics. On the other hand, having the ability to make Mitch laugh was so gratifying. Every now and then we could get him going and have him laughing so hard that he would be ugly laughing. Everybody know what ugly laughing is? That grimace on your face where you can't catch your breath and people are, breathe, breathe, breathe. There were a handful of times where he was ugly laughing, and it was a sight to behold. I should tell you about the stick of, no, I'll get to the stick of butter. I'll tell you that another time. Those memories will be the most sacred memories we had of Mitch. All the laughs we had, ugly and all the other ones. We're all here today to remember Mitch and celebrate not only a life well lived, but also those gifts, those memories, those laughs that we have because of Mitch. I've never known anybody like Mitch in my life. He was very unique and very special in so many ways. We will miss him dearly, but Mitch and Berner Kelly will always be family we choose.
As we gather here on this Tuesday afternoon with our hearts full as we take time to reflect on a life of a quiet, kind, and giving soul. An incredible husband, a son, a brother-in-law, an uncle, and a friend. To his family, to Kelly, to Ed and Julie, Jessica and Jeff, Darren and Michael, Kevin and Oksana, Tracy, to Mary, Ariel, Judd, Shayna, Natalie, Gabrielle, Robin, Alina, Sydney, and Tabitha. Extended family and friends, we hold each of you in our hearts as we join in honoring Mitch today. Knowing Mitch, as many here have been granted that privilege and blessing, it would certainly do injustice to his memory to only speak of sorrow today, along with these incredible memories that we just heard. The hope is that each person here will allow a piece of Mitch's actions and love to enter into your heart. We learned that Mitch's journey began in June of 1963 with Ed and Joyce, Aleva Shalom, making the decision with the help of the Children's Home Society. They saw Mitchell in a crib and knew it was their son, and that joy continued on throughout so much of his life. Large family was part of the fabric of Mitch's journey, and I came to learn that they ran like a pack, and the focus was always on how to support and love one another. Synagogue life being very big as well, and many of his friends were part of his own Jewish life and community. In fact, it was this very congregation, as I mentioned earlier, where Mitch became bar mitzvah and married the love of his life, Kelly. In addition to his early years of playing Little League and hockey and taking up lacrosse, ultimately combining his pursuits of business and lacrosse, which led him at the age of 19 to I, the young woman who would be his partner for 40 years and more. The rest is written in history. Throughout much of his life, I certainly came to learn that Mitch presented as quiet and serious, yet he did many incredibly thoughtful gestures, and he functioned like this his entire life. His love of helping and service to others was passion work for him, and he loved his rewarding career. In addition to Mitch's actions and pursuits throughout his life, the family shared some powerful descriptions of him in character and in heart. They noted that Mitch was warm, intelligent, and creative. His love language was his action by doing something special for someone, and it was always meaningful when he did. He was true to himself and strong-willed to the end. He loved deeply and passionately, and he always came through. And we can't forget the incredible love he had for Casper. He cherished helping to plan family vacations and had a soulful desire to do so. And as a kid, he was private and kept things to himself, but it didn't stop him from his prankster and party animal-ness. And Mitch, in these latter years, handled his illness much of the way he walked through life, with quietness and with courage. I know that these images and memories just begin to scratch the surface of who Mitch was as one of God's contributors to this world, one who enhanced the tapestry of this journey we call life, a life and a soul who touched so many lives. In our tradition, when we honor a person, we say Zichrono Livracha, may their memories, and for us, may Mitch's memory ever continue to inspire and be for a blessing as we say, Amen. I invite you to take a few moments for your own reflections, connections, and then we'll come together. רוצה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. And before we begin to move to our concluding blessings this afternoon, just a few brief announcements that immediately following the conclusion of our service here, Ed and Julie invite you back to their home at 1230 Inspiration Drive in La Jolla, and they will be receiving visitors Shiva time immediately following the conclusion of these services through 8 p.m. this evening. And again, if you are so inclined to make donations in loving memory of Mitchell, you may do so to the M.A. Anderson Cancer Center or to Congregation Beth Israel. And invite you all to rise at this time. The words that I will chant and then we'll recite are on the title of El Malei Rachamim, the blessing over our deceased. And when we get to the part in the translation where there are 3 dots, I invite you to insert Mitchell's name so we can share that together. El Malei Rachamim שוכן במרומים, המנסה מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה, עם קדושים וטהורים כזוהר רקיע מזהירים. את נשמת מיכאל הכהן שלח לעולמו, ברחמים יסירך בסתר כנפיו לעולמים, וצרו בצרוך החיים את נשמתה. אדוני הוא נחלתה, וינוח בשלום על משכבו, ונאמר Amen. We join together. God filled with mercy, who dwells on high, bring proper rest beneath the wings of your presence, amid the ranks of the holy and pure, to Mitchell, who has entered eternity. The Garden of Eden will be his resting place. May you, who are the source of mercy, shelter him beneath your wings eternally, and bind his soul in the bond of everlasting life. Eternal God, you are his inheritance. May he rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. I invite you to turn to the Mourner's Kaddish. The words, as I'm mindful, the Mourner's Kaddish mention nothing of death. In fact, the words, the origins written in Aramaic and Hebrew are to honor the teachers in our lives. The people, for students to honor teachers, and then the rabbis connected that and translated that those immediate family members who honor us in their lives with their models of teaching. And then as a progressive Jewish community, it became incumbent upon all of us to to share in those words, because there may be those that don't have anyone to say Kaddish for them anymore. So whatever your practice, I invite you, if you are so inclined, to share these words of Kaddish Tom in honor and memory of Mitch, that we may do so in loving blessing. As together we say, Yitzgadal v'yitzgadash shmei Rabbah, be'alma divrach chirutei ve'amlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei v'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'gala u'yizman kariv v'yimru Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitvomam v'yinaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalei v'yitalal shmei l'kudusha b'richu la'ela mikol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran v'alma v'imru Amen. Yahei shlama Rabbah min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav uyaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. As we ask peace and as we ask God to send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved, we also say those words one last time, Zichrono livrecha. May Mitchell's quiet passions, may his essence of character, heart, and spirit ever abide and continue to be for blessing. As together we say, Amen. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.